Hi everybody, welcome to The Limit Breakdown, where we review everything in TV show, movies, and entertainment. I'm your host, Sid.
I'm Migs.
And today we're going to be reviewing episodes 6 and 7 of the HBO hit show, The Last of Us. So stick around after the intro for a deep dive, spoiler-filled review.
Welcome back to The Limit Breakdown, and we are going to jump right into our review of episodes 6 and 7 of The Last of Us on HBO. So Sid, tell me what your thoughts were. How are we doing so far?
This show has really reeled me in.
Yeah?
So episode 6 is finally, we get to Joel reuniting with his brother. In all honesty, the opening of the scene when they go into the cabin house and the ladies are sitting there, and then they have the little back and forth, and then Joel's there, and he's like, okay, tell me where's on this map, whatever. And then Ellie's like, can I come down? She's like, no, just the interaction between Joel and Ellie is so funny, because he's like, do this, and she's like, okay, and does the complete opposite. Is really funny. But yeah, so episode goes on and they find Joel's brother. And I'm going to give you overarch and then we'll deep dive in.
Yeah.
Basically, to me, it felt like it was two things. One, Joel's brother's like, thanks for coming out, man, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Don't need you. I got a family literally coming on the way. I mean, great seeing you, but... And then Joel, on the other hand, risked his life to get here.
Yeah.
But then he is like, dude, I need help. Which is the first time you see Joel's vulnerability. Yeah. Which I thought was really, really powerful. So that was my overarching thoughts on episode 6. What about you?
So beginning with episode 6, after the, I guess you could say the emotional payload of the previous episode, I'm glad that they addressed a couple of things that I thought was pertinent. Ellie talks to Joel about how she cut herself and put some of her blood on the little boy's leg, and how she thought she might be able to cure him, and he's like, well, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But
her vulnerability on that, she's like, I guess I knew it didn't work, but I wanted to try, so.
And just seeing how much of a toll all of this is taking on Joel, in the very early episodes, he was very action oriented, very cold, unfeeling almost, and you're starting to see some cracks in the armor, and at one point after coming out of the cabin with the old people, like he like takes a moment, and you can see he's like hyperventilating, and Ellie's freaking out because she's like, dude, are you gonna die? Because if you die, I'm fucked.
Yeah. She's like, are you okay? Are you gonna die? You're gonna like it. I need to know these things, and he's like, oh my god, just shut up.
It's like you are so much. You're just making everything worse right now. But you can see that he's finally come to the realization that he cares for Ellie, and it's such a painful realization because he keeps reliving his failures of the past, primarily his failure to save his daughter.
Yeah. And
I thought it was very powerful of them addressing that within the episode. Tommy having literally a mural of sorts in memory of his niece and of his wife's fallen child, and showing that they've in some way, shape, or form they've grieved and they've processed that emotion, whereas Joel's approach to it was just to bury it deep down and never talk
it
about
underneath and put the rug over.
And it's one of those things, like, it hits a little close to home. I'm not gonna lie, as far as just, you know what, a little bit of therapy goes a long way. But there were some very, very heavy moments with him and his brother, and then him finally opening up and revealing to Tommy, it's like, hey man, I can't do this because I can't fail again. I can't fail this girl the way I failed, Sarah. And even though he originally objected and he originally wasn't going to, he saw the condition that Joel was in, and he's like, okay, I'll do this for you. And then the very powerful conversation that Joel and Ellie had, where she overheard that Joel was going to hand her over to Tommy, and Tommy was going to take her the rest of the way, and of course she's upset, and he's trying to do the old yeller. I don't like you anymore. Yeah, you are not my problem. And she can see right through it, and then they took, the scene was carbon copied from the game, but it was also one of the most emotionally
including her outfit.
Yeah,
her outfit was almost spot on.
Yeah, and so it was one of the most emotionally impactful moments from the game, but where he's just like, you say I'm better off without you, but honestly I would just be more scared.
Yeah.
And her finally opening up to him and just saying all of the things that they hadn't wanted to say, was hey, like, I'm relying on you, but like, I care about you. And so they changed it from the game a little bit, because in the game she runs off and they have to chase after her to find her before Joel makes the decision to actually lead her. With this, they actually go ahead and
Joel gives her the
Joel
option.
gives her the
He's
choice.
like, hey, you have a choice. And before you can finish the sentence, she's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and so then moving into the rest of the episode, they go into the college, and where the fireflies are supposed to be, they're not there, but there's a butt ton of monkeys.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. In the game, that was probably my favorite yet least favorite part of the game. Because the whole time you're expecting something, so in the game you're just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then you hear the noises, and you open the door. I was ready to fight in that game. I was like, I'm ready. I got my stuff, and it's a bunch of monkeys. I'm like, ah, monkeys. Same thing happened. So you open the door, and monkeys.
So I after the first watch, I was a little upset that Joel got stabbed with a baseball bat. Because I don't know if you remember, in the game, the fight does take place with the crew of bandits.
Yeah.
But he falls off the second story,
and then
he gets impaled. Yeah. On like a rye bar or some sort of
bar,
like yeah. And while I've seen the argument be made that like it would have kind of been a little bit unbelievable for him to not only fall from a second story but get impaled, and then still somewhat so they chose to, I guess, go with the broken baseball bat.
I didn't know. I thought it was a knife straight up. I didn't know it was a baseball bat.
Yeah,
it was
when he swung the bat.
Yeah.
The bat broke, and you see that, and then when he's hunched over and he pulls it out, you see it's the broken bottom part of the baseball bat.
I thought it was just a knife that he had shoved in, and he had missed. Now I'm very glad those people didn't have guns right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because that would have ended up very differently. Ellie had a gun.
Listen, I guess horseshoes and hand grenades, right? Because she was just shooting blindly.
I guess she was trying to scare them at that point, but still, that if they had guns, that's what I was afraid of. I was like, yo, what? Like, there's no way.
And then they leave it in the cliffhanger. I was a little bit. How does she get him back on the horse?
I think she dragged him or something, because in in episode 7, the opening scene is snow and then blood.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think she dragged. I think he woke up and he might have limbered, because opening of episode 7, he's in the basement. He's in the basement and he's awake.
Yeah.
While she's like putting pressure on him. I don't know if that's going to do anything. She's putting pressure on him, so he's watching. So clearly,
it's recording. So.
Yeah, clearly, he was awake. He might have like woken up from the shock or something, and then waddled to the place. My thing was, if those people were chasing them, they know exactly where they went. You can see it. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if it was heavy snow, I can understand because it gets covered, but in that particular scene, there was not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I remember correctly, in the game, they travel some distance before he falls off the horse, and I mean they did travel some distance.
Yeah.
So
she did say that I think we're safe. So
yeah. So and then moving into episode 7, they incorporated the DLC from the Last of Us game, showing you the flashback of her and her name. What was her name? Riley, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was her name. And of course, give us another tragic story. Like this game, this world.
Here's a character, beloved character. Get attached to the character. Kill the character. It works. Copy, paste, moving on. Next episode.
It's oh man, and like I somehow feel like they made the already tragic situation much more tragic. Like.
So I actually appreciated this episode because in the whole previous show, they have mentioned multiple times that Ellie's like, I have lost people or that I care about. She has mentioned multiple times, that one time that she shot the guy in one of the previous episodes, she's like, I've shot somebody before. So, and now you're thinking, while watching this, okay, this is a flashback. Who has she lost? Who has she shot? What is going on? So I actually appreciate this episode because it filled up a lot of backstory that we have been seeing in the previous episodes.
A very interesting thing that I noticed was the different vantage point on Fedra. So like this whole time we see the Fireflies and we see Fedra kind of just, being this militant force that's kind of like holding everything, holding everybody and imposing their will and executing people. And I thought it was very interesting in the early parts of the episode where the Fedra officer is scolding Ellie for having gotten into a fight, right? And he's like, "Look, you got a couple paths in front of you." He's like, "But no matter what anybody else outside of here saying, the one thing I know is that if we're not the ones holding things together, the people out there are just gonna kill each other."
Yeah.
And you take a look at stuff like what happened in Kansas City, like, maybe they weren't wrong. And so it's a different perspective that I thought was very interesting. And one of the things that I've appreciated about the series as a whole is everybody, like, there's no clear good guys and bad guys. And I feel like this was one of my concerns with how this story was going to be translated, because I felt that the story, I felt like whoever was adapting the story was going to lean too hard into trying to make Joel and Ellie likable characters and protagonists, and wouldn't lean into some of their darker impulses when the core of the story is everybody's shades of gray. There are moments when you're not supposed to like Joel, and you're not gonna like Ellie.
Yeah.
And they lean on their darker impulses, at times out of necessity for survival. And so I thought it was interesting for them to show, for lack of a better word, a lighter side of Fedra, and kind of show it that maybe they weren't like the diehard bad guys that they were being presented as originally. So I thought that was very fascinating to me.
Especially the fact that they have a very militaristic regime. Like they had the girls do physical fitness, lights out at a certain time. They have patrol going on. So and the officer or whatever, the instructor, I don't know his name. He was very calm about it. He's like, look, these are your options. This is what the future holds. So he's like, you have two choices, like you said, and it seemed very. Everything in that complex was very structured. Yeah. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. Yeah. Right. So, you're right. That light of it, how it's structured, is very. It's good to see a different side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And at the same time, with Riley and Ellie, you see the two different sides of that same structure, because he was offering Ellie the opportunity to be a quote unquote leader because he saw some value in her.
Yeah.
Whether it was through the fact that, you know, obviously he could tell she was intelligent and that, you know, she had some leadership qualities, but also to a certain degree, Ellie wouldn't rock the boat as much as Riley obviously did.
Mm-hmm.
And so the alternative, he's like, you know, she was telling her, she's like, you know, you didn't have to leave. You could have stayed here. We are the future. We could be one day running the show. And she's like, you could be one day running the show. And there's like, you know, they were basically going to put her on latrine duty.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it almost, it's like they pick and choose their favorites and it's, you know, more cracks in the armor, if you say. It's like, it's not a meritocracy, if you will. It's like, you know, who you know type situation. So, but the dynamic was very interesting. I don't know what Riley's relationship is to Marlene. So I know obviously Marlene was the one who put Ellie at the federal facility. Mm-hmm. She knew Ellie's mom. Mm-hmm. I know that much. Yeah. I don't know if she has any established relationship to Riley or not.
I don't know. So it seems, I think at that, actually, no, you're right. I think she might have put Riley there as, like, eyes for Ellie. Well, no, because this is before Ellie finds out that she's immune.
Yeah. So, well, but remember,
Marlene still knows.
Yeah, I mean, remember Marlene knew about Riley.
Yeah. So maybe, I think she just found her and was like, all right, this is what you're going to do. I don't know if they have a direct connection or not. So that'd be interesting to see if they actually do connect them in some way.
It was very sweet of them to show the whole episode in kind of like a Ferris Bueller's Day Out in the Apocalypse situation.
Oh yeah, I found that
with the whole mall. Although a couple of nitpicks that I had, it's like, one, you wouldn't think that like somebody would notice like all the lights in the mall coming on.
I thought that, and then she's like, no, don't worry about it. It's a bunker. Yeah. They can't see outside. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works.
And then they're making a lot of noise. Yeah. Like a lot of noise. Like I mean, obviously it did end up, you know, attracting attention, but at the same time,
from within,
At the same time, I was like the whole time I'm just like, it's all tensed up. I'm just like, oh God, what's gonna come out? What's gonna come out?
Especially the one dark hallway.
Yeah.
Come on. But yeah, I did like the whole. She kind of had a date plan for them. She's like, oh, I got this. I got a carousel or carousel, however you pronounce it. That
the
was
five wonders of the mall.
I know the escalator killed me. And they're like, oh my God, stairs that move. And so funny story. This is a true story. I forgot what country this was in. But in like a third world country, when escalators first were built, they had built an escalator in this mall in like a small third world country, and it was the greatest attraction for that country. And I'll remember it next time. But basically, people would drive for like hours just to go to the mall, just to ride the escalator up and down. And that's what it reminded me of. And the way Ellie was going up and down, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm going up, I'm going down," and I'm like, I can see it. So. Yeah, that was really funny. And the rest of the date was a carousel. Arcade was number 2.
Yeah.
Or which I thought, and then they played Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh! Yeah, Mortal Kombat 2. And they did the fatalities.
How does she know the fatalities? There is no way. I can see them playing the game. How do they know the fatalities? There's no way Riley knew the fatalities.
Well, I mean, maybe, like, if she learned about the game from somebody else... There are still older people left in this.
I suppose, but still, I still
and look, I still remember some of the fatalities.
Some of them, I don't remember. Who did she pick?
Melina and Baraka.
Yeah, she had Melina and Baraka. She did Melina's fatality. Yeah. Good game. I think that's how I got my Trek.
It was very, very convenient to be on HBO since they have the Warner Brothers licensing, so they could use the actual game.
Nice, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The third date was The Gift. The third one was The Gift. The book.
Yeah.
The puns book.
The puns too. Apparently there was a volume 1 that we missed completely.
No. So in the beginning of the episode, or she had a volume 1 and it was like different colors. And then volume 2 is the one that she gave her because that's the one that Ellie finds with Joel.
Yeah.
So the volume 1 was the one she was reading. 2 was The Gift. That's when she finds the bombs, and they're like, "You were planted here, not by choice." And the last gift was the Halloween store, right? Yeah. So very good date planning. I don't want to go on a date with her, but she plans it.
I love the whole little tension, the will they, won't they type thing, and then of course
she was all into it from the beginning.
And then all of it gets taken away in a second.
Yeah.
Like, and the difference in their reaction, like she's just, I don't know if she's sullen or maybe she just gave up instantly, Riley did, and then you see the complete opposite because Ellie is like just going on a rampage and just smashing everything.
Yeah, and Riley's like, "You missed a few over there."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. From my perspective, I think Riley really did want to do something different in the world. She's like, "I want to join the Fireflies." Yeah. She did join. She's like, "I want to do something different." I'm being shipped to Boston. I think she said she was.
Atlanta, I think.
Atlanta. Oh yeah, Atlanta. Okay. She's being shipped to Atlanta to be to go there. So she was like ready to.
I don't even know what that was. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think she was ready to do something in her world, and once that happened, it kind of like took her back. She's like, well, there's nothing left because she knows the reality, and you change within time.
And I thought that particular point was very interesting, which because this could have ended terribly, like they could have both killed each other, and then Ellie would have never known that she was immune.
Correct.
And you know, I thought it was very interesting that Riley was like, well, you know, we've only got a little bit of time left. Let's lose our minds together and basically appreciate every moment that we have left.
Yeah. And
had she not said that, like, Ellie would have never known she was immune.
Yeah, they were ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting too. I was like, huh. You got one chance. You can't play Russian roulette with a pistol.
No, you can't.
So, now all of this flashback is happening while Ellie is debating leaving Joel. Right. Yeah. So in the current timeline, Joel's like, "Yo, just grab your stuff, go back to Tommy. He'll take you. Leave me." And she's like, "I'm gonna leave," and she's about to turn the door, and then that's when the flashback happens. Full circle, when the flashback ends, you understand what's going on. Ellie's like, "Nah, I'm not going to leave somebody behind this time." And she frantically searches through the house for supplies to fix Joel. And the most scene.
Oh,
she gets the needle and she's like, "All right, bro, I'm about to do this." And he's like, "Okay." And she does the needle, and you can see the pain on his face.
God, yeah.
Pedro Pascal's acting at that scene was perfection, because it wasn't like I just cut my leg off. It's like the stinging pain that you get, and it was so well done. I loved it. As far as the acting goes, very gruesome, but the acting was good.
Yeah, and it sets you up for the next. I mean, there's 2 episodes left. In the series, and man, next week's episode.
They got a lot to cover.
They do.
So I don't know if they're gonna do. So in the game, one of the biggest things was at this point, Ellie goes off on her own.
Well, I think they're gonna have to.
Yeah. So.
I think they're gonna have to because, like, I see it as next episode being the episode where she encounters that group.
Yep.
And then while Joel recovers, and then obviously the finale afterwards.
Yep.
So I mean, the next 2 episodes are going to be pretty action heavy, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, man, I feel I'm mixed on the pacing because I feel like there's some parts that are starting to feel a little bit rushed.
Mm-hmm.
And like while I absolutely loved episode 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was great, I feel like we maybe could have taken some of the time that we spent on that episode and applied it a little bit to the
Episode
story.
3 was when they
Was
Joel and them kind of.
it was no, episode 3 was Bill and Frank.
Oh, okay. Nah, I disagree. Nah, that episode was perfect.
No, I'm saying I absolutely loved it, but at the same time, like we spent an entire episode with Bill and Frank, and now like we've kind of rushed through some things over here.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess that makes sense, but
So, but again, it's gonna be interesting to see how they pull it all together. But so far, like this has blown me away as far as what we've gotten.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. 100% agree. Last thoughts?
Final thoughts is HBO is continuing to hit it out of the park, and I'm excited for these next couple episodes.
Yeah, same. So stick around, let us know what you think, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Appreciate you guys. Bye.
Thank you guys for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the video. Check us out on all of our different podcast platforms, on here on YouTube, on TikTok, all the other things. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time with our next review.